Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a This Year in Perfume, and we are all the way to the year 2009. We're going to catch up to the current year very, very quickly. So this series will be coming to an end probably sometime this year. Probably by the end of the year I will have caught all the way up. I love doing these. It's a great way to just sit down and palaver, talk amongst friends, and discuss fragrance. Talk about a lot of different fragrances. I think it's a cool way to just talk about different fragrances, but in an organized way. You know, we are kind of bunching them together by years of release. So these are fragrances from my collection that I either have a full bottle of or that I have reviewed off of the channel, off of a sample that were released in the year 2009. So let's put ourselves in the year 2009 for a second. It was actually the year that I bought my very first house, and some historical events bringing you back. Flight 447 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and I think there was a movie made about another airline flight crash, 1549, that crashed in the Hudson River. I think the pilot's name was Sully, and I think he saved basically everyone. They were able to do like a water evacuation kind of thing. Barack Obama became the first African-American president, and it was kind of America's slow drift to the left, which is still, I think, happening. And so it was a pretty memorable year for me. Some popular songs from 2009. 21 Guns, Green Day. I remember listening to the hell out of that album. I love this. One of my favorite Green Day albums. I forget what the album's called, but that's a really good one. And New Divide by Linkin Park, and Pet Shop Boys, All Over the World. I like that Pet Shop Boys album. I'm a Pet Shop Boys fan. And a White Demon Love Song by the Killers. I also really like the Killers. Yeah, if there's some songs you want to shout out, leave it in the comments. It's impossible to list them all, but that kind of puts us in the frame of mind, at least some stuff I was listening to. Top 10 movies or just popular movies from 2009. Probably one of my favorites was Inglourious Basterds. There was Avatar, which was a huge hit. Star Trek, Days of Summer, Sherlock Holmes, The Twilight Saga, In the Loop, The Proposal, Up, which is a pretty good movie. District 9, which I actually really enjoyed. A Serious Man, White Ribbon, Antichrist, Coraline, Watchmen, Moon, Hurt Locker, Education, Monsters vs. Aliens. So, yes, the Transformers, I think, was a big one. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And so, yes, if there's more movies to check out from 2009, leave them in the comments. So, but first, before we start talking about actual fragrances from 2009, let's do Scent of the Day. And also, I've got a little bit of a mini unboxing. My scent of the day today is one of my all-time favorite fragrances of all time. It's definitely my favorite patchouli of all time, and thank God I have a backup bottle of this stuff. I never want to be without it. From 1974, in my opinion, the greatest Givenchy fragrance ever released, and this is called Gentleman. And Gentleman, if you can find these older bottles with the wraparound label, do so. I remember Anuj from Enchante was on a live stream, and the camera actually showed a bottle of Givenchy Gentleman, a vintage bottle. And I instantly picked up my phone and said, Anuj, I want it. And he goes, you're too late. Rich Mitch already claimed it. I was like, damn it. The duck is quick on the trigger when it comes to hunting vintage fragrances. But thank God I found a second bottle of this. Actually, that's not true. I have a third bottle because I have a half of a partial of a spray as well. But I actually prefer the splashes for whatever reason. God, it's just unbelievable. I mean, the honey, the patchouli, the more patchouli, that leathery castoreum thing in the dry down. I think there's animalic castoreum in here. Just a little bit of vanilla, but it's just spicy, leathery, honeyed patchouli. This is what a man should smell like to me. When men were men, and before, speaking of drifting to the left, you know, we've drifted more and more away from any sort of masculinity, and I miss these days. Even though I wasn't alive, I still miss them. You know, like a memory of the past where you weren't there. But I love Givenchy Gentleman. I love wearing it. And today in Texas, it's actually going to be our first freeze. We're getting below freezing. And so this is I'm just caked in Givenchy Gentleman today. I smell amazing. Oh, I fucking love it. Okay, so that is my scent of the day. But before we get into the fragrances from 2009, I actually have a little bit of a surprise, because a brand reached out to me when he saw my unboxing video or my review of Sherwood, which is an Indian house. And I think these two houses are kind of in a similar proximity. The guy's name is Tausif, a very kind gentleman. And I told him, I said, listen, you can send me whatever you want, okay? But two things. Number one, I review them at my own pace. And number two, I say whatever I want about them, which could be bad, good or bad. So you're taking a chance, okay? You're playing with fire. But he did. He sent me an entire thing. All I did was cut it open and open it up. And here it is. The house's name is called Heavenduft. Heavenduft, which I've never heard of before. But he sent me some of his fragrances. Tonka Tobacco right here. And actually, I was looking at the house. And it seems like I'll be excited to kind of get to know it. I know nothing about this house. It's a Indian house. You can see right there it says made in India. He said it's a small house, that he's kind of up and coming, very similar to Sherwood. So I said, send it on. I'll be glad. I'm always interested in trying to get to know new things. It's funny because whenever there's a lot of stuff in here. Fridias Extreme. These are 50 ml bottles. I have no clue what they sell for. This one's called Pious. Here, we'll just look one of them up and let's look at the notes here. So this one's called Pious, and they are on Parfumo. Heavenduft Pious. So Pious is musk, spices, and vetiver. I have no clue about the, whether they use real musk or not. But he calls literally on the bottle, I think it says artisanal perfume. So I don't know if it's real musk, but I'm excited I love these type of artisanal houses, let's call it. That's just what I call these type of fragrance houses because I don't know what else to call them. The Ensars, the Aris Ladores, the Bortnikovs. I've just settled on artisanal houses. I think that's just a fair way to put it. This one's called Ferragamo Extreme, which let's see if I can find it. Ferragamo Extreme. Actually, this one may not be on Parfumo. Yeah, Pious was. Tonka Tobacco, the decant he sent me is, but this Pious Extreme is actually not on Parfumo. Tonka Tobacco, bergamot, lemon, lime, orange, rose, saffron, tobacco, cardamom, clary sage, clove, jasmine, rose, tobacco flower, amber, cedarwood, cypriol, iris, labdanum, musk, oak moss, oud, patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, and vetiver. And again, I have no clue about the quality of the ingredients. I don't know if it's real oud or not. I have no clue. That's something we're going to have to explore together. But it says that there's a little blurb here. Heavenduft is a luxurious perfume brand that brings you the essence of heaven in a bottle. So there you go. Anyways, so let's see what else is in this damn box. There's a lot of stuff in here. Musk Sami. I think he sent me like his whole offering, either in a bottle or in a decant. So Musk Sami, we'll just look up real quick. It's another one that's not on the list. Let's see. There is Hajar-e-Aswad. Very interesting. Hajar-e-Aswad. I have no clue what that means. If anyone speaks Arabic and you can leave it in the comments, let me know. This one is interesting because Parfumo says it's discontinued. This sounds like my kind of fragrance, though, looking at the note listing. It's saffron, Indian damask rose, bergamot, cardamom, cypriol, jasmine sambac, neroli, ylang ylang, Indian oud, musk, patchouli, ambergris, Assam oud, benzoin, Cambodian oud, civet, elemi, frankincense, gaiac, Indian sandalwood, labdanum, myrrh, Peru balsam, sandalwood, and white ambergris. So this is probably the one I'm most excited to try. There's a couple more decants in here. One is called Golden Sand. Golden Sand is in Parfumo. This might be their newest one from 2023. Bergamot, lime, lemon, rose, saffron, geranium, heliotrope, iris, jasmine, nutmeg, praline, raspberry, spices, tobacco, amber, civet, cypriol, frankincense, gaiac, iris, labdanum, leather, musk, oud, sandalwood, tolo balsam, tonka bean, vanilla, and woody notes. So you can see the note listings are pretty vast on these fragrances. And then there's Oud Sami. And I do love oud. So Oud Sami also came out in 2023. A powdery woody fragrance with Indian oud, iris, violet, cypriol, musk, oud. Interesting. Okay. And then we've got Saba, which I know is an Arabic word for something. I just don't know what. Saba. is ambergris, apple, lemon, musk, and oak moss. That sounds like a summery fragrance. And then finally, the last bottle he sent me is this one. And this is called Amor and Psyche. So very generous gift. So thank you, Tausif. Very kind. Thank you very much. I will be talking about those on the channel at some point in the future. Like I said, who knows when. It'll just depend on how into them I get. And that Amor and Psyche is ambergris, musk, oud, and rose. So, I mean, it sounds like my kind of perfume lately, what I've been really digging. So we'll see. We'll see how the quality is. Okay, enough about Heavenduft for now. Let's get back to the point of the video, which is this year in perfume 2009. So I do have some honorary mentions that did not make the list for different reasons. I'll share some of those with you real quick. These are most of these are just on the list to review. One of them I reviewed, but it's a different version, which we'll talk about. But on the list of 2009 fragrances to talk about on the channel soon is Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire, which is a brand I really, really rate. I think they're a solid niche house. I love their backstories. Wazamba is kind of this spicy, smoky. It has a little bit of Serge Lutens Nuit. I've only tested it once or twice. It's a little bit like Nuit meets Diptyque's L'Autois. And just like a smoky frankincense. Someone asked me earlier about a cypress, and there's a beautiful cypress note in Wazamba with this sort of plummy myrrh, a Papanax thing in the base. You know, it's very green and incensey, like frankincense and myrrh from the old times, but also fruity. That's maybe the draw to Nuit by Serge Lutens. So that's on the list of honorary mentions. The other one is from the house of Slumber House, and this is called Or. So Or originally came out in 2009. Excuse me, with the cold coming in, I'm getting a little bit of a congestion here. So, but Or is sort of a beautiful chocolatey cacao, almost like a gourmand whiskey cacao woody thing. I really enjoyed it, but I think Nick, who sent me these very generous decants, told me that this is the 2022 version. So I do have a review on the channel of this, but I don't think it's from the 2009 version, so I did not include it in the ranking. And then we have a Tom Ford, which is definitely on the list to discuss because it is still available, but there's big rumors of reformulation. And this is called Bois Marocain, which is created by Shyamala Masondu, who was the perfumer who actually traveled with the guy that wrote The Ghost Perfumer. Oh gosh, Oppenheim, I think his name was. And so she traveled with him to go meet Pierre Bourdon. And so this she perfumed this, but there's a big discussion of reformulation. You can see from the note, this is actually the first release from 2009, and this is kind of just Atlas Cedar Arborovitae, which is a note that I think has this sort of coniferous, maybe a little bit like cypress or evergreen fern-like smell. I've never actually seen that note in a fragrance, but it's mixed with pink pepper. So it's just like a sort of little bit of a smoky, spicy, woody, but a very well done from what I've tested from it. So I'll do a video on Bois Marocain one of these days. It's on the list, but careful because in 2016 it was re-released. And now, so this comes from the bottle with like the gold plaque on the front. And this is thanks to my good friend Armando, who very kindly sent me a bunch of these decants that I still have to discuss with you guys of hard to find and rare fragrances. And now the bottle that Tom Ford sells Bois Marocain in looks like the Ebony Fume with the sort of brown label. You'll know what I'm talking about if you see it. The old one looks like the old, like Oud Wood Intense with the gold plaque. So anyways, but that's one that's definitely on the list to discuss. Another one that probably not as many people are looking forward to on my channel, because I have a lot of folks who are interested in things like the vintage masculines, but this is a Guerlain, and this is a hell of a Guerlain. It's not my taste because it's very floral, slightly sweet floral, but it speaks to the Guerlain sort of DNA. So this is a Rhonda Hamami creation, which she will come up again here in 2009, very close to the top of the list. And this is called Mon Presso Nectar. And Mon Presso Nectar is probably my second favorite creation by Rhonda Hamami. It's this bitter almond, orange blossom, jasmine floral thing with that Guerlainade vanillic base. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Not my thing. Marketed towards women, and it is very traditionally femme, you could say. But I really, that's one of those you almost just have to sit back and admire. Okay, and then the next one is from the house of Byredo, which does not get a lot of talk on my channel. But I must admit, this is a nice fragrance. I don't think I would ever run out and go buy a bottle, but it's kind of this fruity floral thing with bergamot, lemon, neroli, cyclamen, violet, jasmine, musk, vetiver, amber, and atlas cedar. It dries down to a little bit of a vetiver, but the fruity top bit, I'm not really sure where that comes from. There's a note called buchu, which I am not very familiar with, but it is in here, and this is called Bal d'Afrique. Maybe one of their best sellers. But I'll do a quick just early impression video on Bal d'Afrique one of these days. So that is the honorary mention list. So now let's get into the actual ranked list. So this is from starting at number 21, and I have to just give a quick sort of disclaimer to those of you who are new to the channel. This is my personal opinion of my favorite fragrances to wear from the year 2009, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying number 1's better than number 21. This is a top 21, by the way. There's a lot of fragrances from 2009. What's crazy is we're getting into the years that I call the excess years, and I call them the excess years because there's so much fragrance that just got put out those years. It seems like just an overkill, like you're just drowning in perfume. And so if you go to Parfumo, go to directory, click on the years of release, go to 2009, you'll see there's like 100 pages of fragrances to kind of click through. It's unbelievable. And this is the year that things really, well, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10 are really when it just exploded with all these different niche houses and stuff coming on the scene. So there's a lot of stuff on here. But starting at number 21, we start with the designer. And actually, I feel bad putting this here because I don't think it deserves to be in last place, but it has to be here just because of the rest of the way the lineup fell, if you will. But I don't think this is a bad fragrance. This is a fragrance from the house of Carolina Herrera. This is called CH Men. And I do have the vintage with the kind of thing here. The new one is just like sewed onto the side. It doesn't have the little thingy. But this is a sweet leather. And if you know me, you know I'm not a fan of sweet leather fragrances. It's I do like, there's this green grassy top with violet, okay? But then it really dries down to a, I would say designer suede-y like leather. And if you look at the front, you can see the leather front that's like stitched onto the, it looks like it's stitched onto the bottle, right? This kind of thing of leather right here. And that's a good representation of kind of what the scent is supposed to be. There is some saffron and nutmeg. I'll review it one of these days. You get a big dose of cashmeran, which makes it feel very modern. And the leather in here is done in this sweet vanillic. It really feels like a modern masculine, right? Don't think of the leathers from the old days that I love. Don't think of Bel Ami and stuff like that. This is a very modern masculine, but I think it's better than last place. But I have to put it here at number 21 because we're going to come up to better and better fragrances as the list goes on. So number 20. Number 20 is a Bond number 9, which is a house I really don't rate. I'm not a fan of the house. I'm not a fan of the tactics. I'm not a fan of the history and what I know about them. Rumor is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but rumor is that the lady who founded Bond number 9 worked with Creed and learned some of the marketing and creation from Olivier Creed and then spun off and created her own house, Bond number 9. And you can see some of the quality in action here. The the little bit, the collar uncrimped and got stuck in the cap, and I can't get it out. Even with a knife, it's stuck in there. So if I pick this up by the cap, it's just going to fall. This is called Bond number 9, Bond number 9. Some people refer to this as Signature. Came out in the year 2009. Parfumo has a mistake. It lists it as an eau de parfum. It's actually a pure parfum. If you look on the bottom, this is 100 mils of pure parfum. You can kind of see the juice wiggling around in there through the Bond number 9 logos, if you will. But this is a very floral, heavy rose oud musk is really what it is. The musk feels pretty decent. I mean, it doesn't feel like a cheap synthetic musk. I like the way the musk is done in here. Obviously, it's synthetic. They're not using real musk. That's reserved for the Ensars and the Aries Ladores of the world, right? But I like the musk accord, and I like the fragrance. I don't hate it. It's a floral, it's a floriental oud, if that makes sense. That's a good way to put it. It's the rose is very prominent, and I think this would probably lean feminine if you ask many men which side of the aisle it falls on. I think it probably leans feminine, but I have no problem wearing it. I actually like it. But I'll review it one of these days. It was created by a perfumer named Laurent Le Guernec in 2009. So Floriental Oud Rose Musk called Bond number 9, Signature at number 20. Number 19. Number 19 is I would say, very under the radar discontinued designer, especially because of the Perfumer. The Perfumer is the great, probably Hall of Fame, probably will go down when all is said and done as one of the greatest perfumers of all time, in my opinion, because he has this stretch of time on his side. You know, he has this run ahead of him because he's so young. He took over from his father, Jacques Polge, and the Perfumer is, of course, Olivier Polge, who's now at Chanel. And he released this in 2009 for the House of Ferragamo. This is called F by Ferragamo Pour Homme Black. Hell of a name, but basically F Black. And some people compare this to a couple different fragrances. I've heard, oh gosh, what is it? La Nuit de l'Homme thrown out. I think it smells a little bit like Dior Homme. It's got a little bit of that Dior Homme lavender, you know, thing that you smell. It doesn't have the iris. It also has a very designer smelling apple note in the top, but it's very peppery and lavender and designer tonka and labdanum in the base. But it's a Olivier Polge, and I think, you know, if you like his work for Van Cleef & Arpels, if you like things like Midnight in Paris and you can stomach those designer fragrances, which I can, I think this is an amazing release that deserves more talk. One of the few fragrances I think Jeremy Fragrance hyped up that I agree with. I think this is a good designer. Now that it's discontinued, people think they're sitting on a lottery ticket. They're trying to sell it for $300. Don't pay $300, but if you find it like I did for 20 bucks or whatever I paid for this 30 mil, it's worth grabbing if you like Olivier Polge's work, especially if you like things like Dior Homme and stuff like that. So that is F by Ferragamo Pour Homme Black at number 19. Number 18 is a Nicolai Parfumeur. Nicolai Parfumeur Creator. And this is created by Patricia de Nicolai, of course, who is related to the Guerlains. And I think this is a house I need to explore more and spend more time with, because I think it's a house that you won't love at first. Well, you might love some of their fragrances at first, but I think it's a house you kind of have to really kind of spend some time with and live with. This is a spicy, earthy patchouli. For many of my videos when I talk about this is Patchouli Intense, by the way. I guess I should tell you the name. At number 18. And Patchouli Intense, I've often said I was kind of mad that I bought it, that I wish I would have just bought a bigger bottle of New York Intense, because I think that's the best Parfums de Nicolai fragrance that I've smelled so far. And I kind of hated Patchouli Intense for a little bit, but then as I sprayed it on at night sometimes and got to know it a little bit better, I don't hate it as much. I think it probably is misnamed. I think it should have been called like Geranium Intense or something. There's a huge scratchy geranium in there that's kind of rosy, very spicy, and the lavender and orange blossom absolute sometimes feels like it clashes a little bit. But once it gets into that dry down, with the patchouli coming out more, with the cistus labdanum being a little bit overdosed in the base, the smoky frankincense, it turns into a spicy, earthy, sort of scratchy patchouli, but I've grown to like it, and I'm glad I have the bottle, so I can review it for you guys one of these days. Patchouli Intense. It used to be called Patchouli Homme, by the way. The vintage was called Patchouli Homme, and they changed it to Patchouli Intense somewhere along the way. But yes, Nicolai's Patchouli Intense comes in at number 18. Number 17 is a discontinued Thierry Mugler, which I still can't believe that L'Oreal discontinued these. Like, I feel like someone just needs to grab L'Oreal by the collar and just slap the shit out of them. But this is, well, Parfumo says it's still being marketed, but rumor is it's discontinued. This is by the house of Thierry Mugler, and this is called Pure Malt. So obviously, if you're going to go for these, try to get the ones that said Thierry Mugler on the bottom. There were some when they changed the name to Mugler. I don't know if there's reformulation involved, but this is a flanker of Amen, which I absolutely love. I'm going to spray this because it's been a while. I just am in the mood to spray Pure Malt. And the thing about it is that, you know, if you like that Amen DNA, okay? Oh, yes. So that hoppy, malty, you know, CO2 note, whatever they call it, with that whiskey, and then that peaty sort of smell. I love this. Very boozy, sexy, coffee and booze and whiskey with that patchouli DNA. I think if you love Amen, like if you can stand the Amen DNA, which I actually really like, I think these are some of the best designers, you know, as far as designer perfumery goes, I think this is a great line. And yes, it's sweet. Yes, it has the ethyl maltol, but man, you compare this to some of the shit like Maison Francis Kirkjohn's putting out, and I mean, I would take this over some of those MFKs any day. Jacques Huclier created this. I think he's a great perfumer. There's something very suede coming through here as well. Yes, it's sweet, but I like it. This just goes to show I don't hate all sweet things. Let me mark this so I can come back to it later. Pure malt. I'll have to review these pretty soon because they deserve attention, I think. Okay, so next on the list is going to be a fragrance from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. Not the last, because there's another L'Artisan fragrance on the list that's a little higher. This is maybe, it's interesting because this is maybe one of the lowest Bertrand Duchefort fragrances that have been on one of these lists. Usually his fragrances are at the top. This is probably one of my least favorite Bertrand Duchefort creations, but I think it's still really good. There are a lot of different elements here, and it is discontinued now. But if you're a fan of Oudh and you like spicy fragrances, this is one to try to check out. So at number 16, this is called Al Oud by the house of L'Artisan. Now, they put them in the newer bottles, I think, for a little bit, and then they discontinued them. There's also an even older bottle that has like this Arabian-looking like sash around the outside. I think Mark from Robes 08 has an older bottle like that. But this is, I'm going to spray this too, screw it. We're on a spraying trend here. But if you like sort of spices, if you like the date note that's in fragrances like Attabi, or I think there is a fragrance from the house of zoologists called Camel that has a very interesting date note. You know, it gives it that sort of Middle Eastern vibe, let's say. Yeah, cumin. You get a lot of cumin and spices and cardamom in the opening. And then you get that, the best way I can describe it is you get that 2009 version of Oudh, right? You know, in 2008 or 2009, whenever Tom Ford released Oud Wood, 2007, anyone who was anyone was rushing to put out an Oud fragrance. And you get that early version of Oud. But I still like it because it's a very dry, deserty Oud, you know? It gives off these little deserty hints, kind of like yesterday I reviewed Amber Absolutely by the House of Fort and Manley, and there's a little bit of that deserty, sandy feel I talked a little bit about in that video, but also from memory, I remember a little bit of animalics come out, a little bit of leather comes out, a little bit of myrrh, and you know, I could see with continued wear this rising up the ranks, you know, because Bertrand Duchefort doesn't make bad fragrances. It's just, I think my Oud tastes have moved on from this style. I still enjoy wearing this, but I would put this, you know, I would wear this just like I would wear Oud Wood by Tom Ford. You know, there's just that, there's that association with these type of Oud fragrances now for me, because I want to wear the Oud Zens and, you know, those kind of Ouds from Arise La Dorée. And once you go down that path, it's very hard to turn around and walk back, you know. But I like Al Oud. I think it's a good fragrance, especially if you're into these Middle Eastern houses. Very, very, very nice. And then, one I don't have to spray, because I know this one very well, from the house of Guerlain. This is called Guerlain Homme. Now, it's currently called Guerlain Homme Eau de Parfum. And it's in the, what I would call the L'Homme Ideal bottles, the square bottles with the, kind of the thing they put all the fragrances in now, right? Thierry did an interview with Sebastian recently, and he said, it's funny because everyone thinks if we just change a label or a bottle, it's reformulated. And he says, no, that's not true. He claims that's not the case at all. Sometimes packaging just changes, especially with LVMH steering the ship. But this is his, I think, first main masculine release when he took over Guerlain from the house from Jean-Paul Guerlain. And Guerlain Homme is a very interesting fragrance because it's like mojito in a bottle is really the best way to describe it. It's peppermint, lime, and rum, and it has that fresh mojito vibe, you know? Just imagine getting a mojito at a bar and having like sprightly mint put on the side, sprigs of mint put on the side, right? But what's interesting is, at heart, this is a vetiver fragrance. It really dries down to a vetiver, woody patchouli, and I like the vetiver dry down. I think it's a solid, playful scent. I like wearing this in the summer, but I heard someone, I forget who said it, but someone said once that this is a great fragrance to wear if it's cold and you want a feeling of a summer fragrance, because it's still intense enough to sort of wear in the cooler weather, but it really works best in warmer weather for me, that fresh, woody mojito, you know, sparkly mint, sprigs of mint vibe. Very spicy and green. And that peppermint freshness, I think, just works better in summer. This is the older bottles, by the way. Like I said, when it used to be called Eau de Parfum Intense. And then in 2016, they omitted the word intense and they altered it into sort of the newer bottles, if you will. Well, really in 2016, they put it in the Listerine bottles. Then now they put it in the L'Homme Ideal bottles. So there's definitely been changes. I don't think you really have to worry about reformulation with this scent. Personally, just from smelling it, I don't think there's a lot in here that would have to be reformulated, but I don't know that. So I've only smelled the older version. So Guerlain Homme comes in at number 15. Number 14 is a Serge Lutens. And again, there's a higher Serge Lutens on the list as well. Very, very high. But this one I am going to spray because this is one I want to get to know better and wear a little bit more. But from my initial impressions, this is one that I think is a fragrance that you wouldn't think would be my type of perfumery, right? But it's so beautifully done. Very similar to what I was saying about the Guerlain Mon Précieux Nectar earlier, that you almost have to appreciate it, right? Nuit de cellophane is the fragrance. Oh yeah, I mean, Christopher Sheldrake just does not. He just does not miss. I mean, I don't think he misses hardly ever. And so this is number, what did I say, 14. And Nuit de cellophane is basically a floral. See, there's this sweet floral thing coming out right now. Lily, jasmine, a little bit of that apricot-like suede osmanthus, a little bit of that spicy carnation, a little bit of that green notes. You know what it's reminding me of right now? On paper, it reminds me a little bit of 31 Rue Cambon, just a touch. But that's I think that's one of the best modern Chanels. I mean, I love 31. I've got a 200 ml of 31 Rue Cambon. I adore it. And I've got a decant of the EDT. So I'm going to compare the EDT and EDP one day. But this woody, from memory, this woody honey-like almond note comes through in the base. Very floral and sweet at the top, but there's all of these little moving parts. Christopher Sheldrake is just a master. Christopher Sheldrake and Serge Lutens. I mean, it's like coffee and cream. It just goes together so well. And even though it's not my thing, like this is not the type of fragrance I would reach for personally, regularly, let's say. You have to almost just admire its, you have to admire its sort of detailed creation. Beautiful. And thank you to my, my kind benefactor who sent me many of these Serge Lutens as a gift. I really do appreciate that. So I can get to know the brand. Okay, so Nuit de cellophane is on the list to discuss at number 14. Number 13. Number 13 is a decant I had to dig out, and this is the bane of my existence when I do these videos for you guys. Digging out these decants is an absolute ass whip, but I want to show you because this came from the Duck Den. This came from my buddy Rich Mitch, my brother from another mother. This is called Ombre Nuit by Dior. At number 13, some may say I'm crazy for putting it this low. Some, this is like their favorite fragrance of all time. Some people say this is super overrated. I thought it was good. I liked Ombre Nuit. I would love a vintage bottle of Ombre Nuit from back in the day. It's sort of this spicy, woody, beautiful Turkish rose from memory. And it dries down to this amber, ambergris, really. Ambergris, if you will. It dries down to this ambergris in the base. It's a beautiful ambergris. I think it has both. I think it has a little bit of ambergris and this ambery, woody sort of dry down, but that oriental sort of rose thing. I think I smelled a Xerjoff fragrance that smelled very similar to this, that 21 knots maybe, I can't remember. Too many fragrances to keep straight in the old noggin, but I did like Ombre Nuit, but it would have to be one of those deals I'd have to just get a screaming deal on, you know? It's not something I would run out and go pay big money for, but I really did enjoy it. And I reviewed it. So there is a review on my channel if you want to go check it out. One of my older reviews. Okay, next on the list at number 12, we've got an Hermès. And this is another one that some people absolutely love. Other people loathe. I think it's the ISOE Super in here. But in 2006, of course, Jean-Claude Elena released what many consider to be one of his masterpieces, Terre de Hermès, which I've come around on Terre. You know, I reviewed it off of a sample. And I ended up buying a huge, like a 500 ml bottle. I got a great deal on it. But in 2009, they didn't go from EDT to EDP like most brands. Basically, Jean-Claude Ellena just went straight to the Parfum. And so that is what's going to be at number 12. Terre de Hermès, the Parfum, the Pure Parfum. This bottle is actually a 2009 bottle. I bought it sealed off of Moudessir, I believe. And so you can see this is a 75 mil, but this is a 2009. This is the original release. There have been talk of reformulation. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will tell you that I really like the Parfum. But then again, I've come to really like the Eau de Toilette. The Parfum just feels so much heavier and thicker, and it just feels, it feels denser, and yet it still has that ISO-y super feel. You get that sort of dirty orange grapefruit thing in here. I think you get more grapefruit than you do in the original. But that ISO-y super woody thing is definitely there. It's a little bit earthy. I think he's amped up the benzoin to make it kind of thicker, feel more enveloping, make it feel like a sweater, you know? It's got that feel about it. Probably you could wear Terre de Hermès in the spring and summer, the EDT, and you could wear Terre de Hermès, the Pure Parfum, in the fall and winter. Very spicy and earthy, you know, this earthy, woody, dirty orange, grapefruit, but heavier, thicker, denser. There's a note of shiso in here as well. And so there's this shisho note. But yeah, the Pure Parfum, I mean, it's on the list to review one of these days. I just need to wear it more and get to know it a little bit more. But I've come to appreciate Terre, let's put it that way. And I've come to appreciate more of Jean-Claude Ellena's work in general. Okay, next on the list is a very underrated fragrance, extremely underrated. I'm going to spray it because it's been a while as well. And I only have a 30 ml, a smaller bottle of this, but I really like this. And in fact, this is so good that I would, I venture that I want to try more from this line. This is from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur, and this is called Mon Numero 10. So there were actually 10 of these, go figure, Mon Numero 10, and I haven't tried any of the other ones. I've only tried this one, and that's because this came in like a 3-pack I ended up buying from L'Artisan Parfumeur. But this is a Bertrand Duchefort creation, believe it or not. So Bertrand Duchefort makes a little bit of a comeback from his low ranking of Oudh. This is such a great fragrance. I really think more people should discuss Mon Numero 10, and really I want to get to know more of this line. Mon Numero 10 opens up with this blast of frankincense. Beautiful, peppery frankincense. They say there's red pepper in here. And it really does feel sort of, the red pepper note to me feels like it's in between the pink pepper and that Sichuan pepper I discussed in my Journeyman review. But along with that frankincense and this dry woodiness in the background, which they say is cedar, this spicy smokiness evolves. But along with that, you get this brilliant cinnamon note, okay? And the cinnamon adds that warmth I was talking about from the benzoin and Terre, but I like the way the cinnamon is done in here even better. Not that the two are related at all, but both of them add this little cuddliness, like of the sweater, like, you know, this feeling of envelopment. The cinnamon here is a warm spice, and it just adds this warmth. I think this would be brilliant in the cold as well. Spicy, smoky. Birdie D rarely misses. So Mon Numero 10 definitely deserves more love in the Fragcom. No one talks about it at number 11. Number 10. Number 10 is a fragrance that I've actually really come to like a lot. And, you know, it's a vetiver fragrance, just like Terre. But I almost think I like this more. I mean, it's crazy to say. But it's really grown on me. And I only have a little, again, a 30 ml bottle. Once you get a larger collection, one thing you'll notice yourself doing is buying less and less 100, 200 ml bottles and buying more and more 25, 30, you know, maybe the odd 50 ml, but you don't need huge bottles when you have a big collection. But this is from the house of Eldo, a Tat Libre d'Orange, and at number 10, we have Fat Electrician. And Fat Electrician, you can see right there, it says semi-modern vetiver, and that's a very good way to describe it. It is definitely a semi-modern vetiver. But what's interesting about Fat Electrician, some people compare it to Vetiver Tonka by Hermès, which is a Jean-Claude Ellena. But I'll tell you what, there's something about Fat Electrician that I just, you know, it opens up with this fresh, much fresher incense feel than Mon Numero 10. The LME resin in here adds that lemony freshness, and there's a black pepper or pur note with vetiver, and the vetiver feels very nutty in here. It's a very nutty vetiver is a good way to describe it. And along with that, you get this warmth of myrrh, you know, this licorice-like myrrh note with apopanax. And apopanax is sweet myrrh, so it's like sweetened. Imagine like cooked myrrh in a pot. So it's like this cooked myrrh with this base of vanilla absolute or pur, which is those or pur, you know, copyrighted notes. It's like a specific type of vanilla created by one of the brands. I forget who, probably Givaudan, Simrise, IFF, I don't know. But I really like this as a vetiver fragrance, because vetiver can sometimes, you know, put some people off. Sometimes they say, there's no point in paying big money for a vetiver. So vetiver's a vetiver, you know, why pay for Dior's vetiver? It's all the same. But I disagree. And here, I think it's definitely a vetiver. Like, you can tell when you smell it, you can tell it's a vetiver. But all of the stuff around the outer rims of the vetiver make it unique and different. The elemi, the black pepper, the cedar wood, the myrrh, the apopanax, even the vanilla in the way it's executed. It's like a smoky, it's like, you know what it's like? It's like a dark vetiver. Like, imagine sort of a dark vetiver, like Etro's vetiver. It makes it feel like you're smelling a smokier, darker vetiver, but there's also something that makes it feel modern, like the label says, semi-modern. But there's a side of it that's fresh, and that comes from the LME, and I think a couple other things, maybe different types of vetiver were used here. But there's a side of it that's dark, and it just kind of walks down the center of those two, you know, walking in the shadows. It's very interesting. Antoine Maisonneuve, who I think was married to Shamela Maisonneuve for a bit, made this, and I think he did a hell of a job. So Fat Electrician, very interesting vetiver. When I'm in the mood for a modern take on vetiver, that's one that I'll be reaching a lot for. I need to review it. Number 9 on the list is a fragrance that I did review, and I would love a bottle. This is high on my Amouage wish list. I have a few old Amouages that I really want. This is up there. I mean, really up there. I would love a bottle of this stuff. Go watch my review. We talked about some of the history of the name Oudh as well, because it's an old city. Long lost city that was along sort of the frankincense trail, if you will, the silk trail, frankincense trail, and this is called Oudh. And you can just see right here the golden sort of background is a perfect representation of the scent. There's the little blurb. Here, I'll read it to you. Romancing the mystery of Oudh's splendor, paradise is regained with echoes of bergamot and lily of the valley, complementing the majestic Damascene rose with the eternal presence of sandalwood. So at number 9, we have Oudh. Oudh is, I forgot who created this, but I'll tell you what this was originally released, I think, in the late 90s, and then they redid it in 2009 when Christopher Chong was there. And what a fragrance. I mean, you wouldn't think I would love this as much, because it's a huge floral heart, giant floral heart. Jasmine and ylang, lily of the valley, orange blossom, tuberose, freesia, you name it, it's in here. But there's this animalic side to it, you know. It's almost like the sand you're walking on has secrets, you know. There's dirt underneath. And it's interesting because this story of the city of Oudh, apparently the whole city fell into the ground. Some people say God swallowed him up. Scientists say he built it on a sinkhole or whatever it is, but there's a very interesting sort of novel history that goes with the name. Everything about it's perfect. Everything. Even though the fragrance is maybe not my type of fragrance I would choose. Like, you know, we talk about things like Givenchy Gentleman, which I'm wearing today. But it's so beautiful. I am in love with this scent. I want a bottle. I definitely want a bottle. This is on my wish list one day. I've been so spoiled lately with people sending me bottles and not paying for it. And I haven't bought a bottle really with my own money since the whole divorce thing started. And I probably won't be able to start now until it's all finalized. But my God, Oudh is just full bottle worthy. I love it. spicy oriental floral. Go watch my review if you want more details. Number 9, Ubar by Amouage from 2009. Number 8 is a Frederic Malle, and this is from the great master Dominique Ropion. This is called Geranium pour Monsieur. Geranium pour Monsieur is a fresh, green, sort of, there's this freshness without being ozonic. There's this peppery mintiness without being toothpaste. Some say it goes into the toothpaste realm, but it doesn't for me. And it uses a Chinese geranium note, which I can't say I know what the difference between Chinese geranium and regular geranium is, but I can tell you that, I don't know why I do 2 sprays. Frederic Malle sprayers are like, I mean, I could see why some people say toothpaste. There's all types of sort of, if you go to Parfumo and look this scent up, there's all types of sort of chemical compounds listed. One's called anethol, which is a component of anise, makes up several essential oils. There's a big dose of ambroxan, which of course is synthetically produced nowadays a lot of times rather than going for real ambergris. Florazone is an IFF ingredient. It's said to have this clean green scent reminiscent of this fresh ocean breeze. Rhodinol is sort of a flowery type extract or I don't know, chemical extraction. It shall resemble rose and geranium and also have a wax-like green aspect. So this waxy, greeny rose geranium. Styrax is also very waxy, which is in the scent, along with sandalwood and cinnamon and white musk and clove. And it's just an amazing scent for summer. This is summer in a bottle, really is what it is. And I'm really torn on which one I like wearing more, this or Rose and Queer. I think I really lean towards Rose and Queer. I've come to, like I said, appreciate Jean-Claude Elena's work more and more, but Geranium pour Monsieur is just fantastic at number 8. Number 7 is probably one of my favorite discontinued Dior designers of all time. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. It was created by Francois Demachy, who I think really had a way of working with myrrh. He did some amazing things with myrrh, and this is one of them. This is called Fahrenheit Absolute. And so you can see I've got an old tester, the name's on the back there, or some of the essences of myrrh, oud wood, incense, and it's mixed with this aromatic sort of opening with this violetiness. And so the opening here feels more purple. It doesn't feel as much as like gasoline, like you got gasoline on your clothes like regular Fahrenheit. And it's mixed with frankincense and leather and this oriental base. I don't want to spray it because I really cherish every drop of this, but I know it pretty well. I'll review it one of these days. This will be a discontinued gem fragrance review. I love Fahrenheit Absolute, and I really think that some of his best work was riffing off of other perfumers' work. Take this with the flanker of Fahrenheit, take Eau Sauvage Parfum, which is, I mean, those two on its own, both use myrrh, the 2012 version anyways. And they both just are a little bit of a riff on another perfumer's work, and they're amazing. So yes, Fahrenheit Absolute comes in at number 7. Number 6 is a Creed. And actually, I just did a video on this within the last couple months. If you go through my old videos, you'll see it. I compared it with the original name of this fragrance. I have a decant of the original before it got re-released. The fragrance is called, the fragrance is called Royal Mayfair, and you can see the dent I've put in this. This is my dent, by the way. At first, I thought I hated it. If you want the full story, go watch my review, but there's something about this that really put me off. There's almost like this essential oil smell in the beginning, and that's basically the eucalyptus and gin and pine mixing together. But as it dries down, this sort of floral, fresh rose, this masculine rose comes in, and it's just amazing. One of my favorite rose notes in perfumery. It's so elegant. It really is. There's something high class about this. So you can go check out my comparison video between this, and it was originally called Windsor because they used Duke of Windsor roses in the fragrance. Yes, Windsor versus Royal Mayfair comparison video is up on the channel if you want to know more. But I love this stuff. I cherish it. Parfumo says it's discontinued. Well, sorry, Parfumo says it's still in production. But if you go to Creed's website, it's no longer on there. You can't find it anymore. So I think it is officially discontinued, which I could see why. Even though I really enjoy it, I could see this being challenging. Even for me, I had to put it aside for a bit. In fact, I put it aside for so long, I thought I was going to give it away. And then I came back to it, and it took me really time to know and appreciate the scent. I love it, and I especially love wearing it in the warmer weather. Royal Mayfair by Creed at number 6. Number 5 is a Nasomatto fragrance, which I plan on reviewing sometime in 2024. This is called Black Afghano, and I love Black Afghano. I don't care what anyone says about, you know, this Alessandro Gualtieri's work. Yes, it's synthetic. Yes, it's this. Yes, it's that. I don't care. I just love wearing it. The whole sort of blend, if you will. Let me look up it's interesting because if you know anything about the house, they do not release notes, okay? So it's interesting because they do not release notes to the public at all. And so the notes that you find, like if you go to something like, gosh, I was trying to just see if Base Notes had the notes listed. Base Notes is so slow. They need more servers is what I think they need. So they list cannabis, which actually the name Black Afghano is named after a type of cannabis. So there's cannabis and green notes in the top with resins, definitely resins, wood notes, coffee and tobacco in the heart, with incense and oud in the base. And yes, the oud is not real oud or whatever. You get that oud accord. But I really like it, and I like what he did with the Orto Parisi brand. There's a couple I want to talk about on the channel, especially one called Sturkis, which I absolutely love. But I just love what he has done here, and putting out something bold and aggressive. And I just, you know, you can nitpick and you can take it apart and pick it apart, but I really like Black Afghano at number 5. And if you want to watch a spirited Black Afghano review, go find Mark from Robes 08's original review of this and just go see how excited he was at finding this dark black colored juice. The good old days of Fragcom. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is a fragrance. It's hard for me to put this at number 4 because, remember, this is not my list of maybe greatest fragrances, but my favorite fragrances to wear from 2009. So if you said greatest fragrances or most influential fragrances, this could probably be number 1 on this list, easy. Because this influenced an entire generation, I think, of Serge Lutens scents. And if you've smelled some of even Serge Lutens' signature scent, which is called Serge Noir, this is, I think, it's influenced by this. And I'm putting this on the list because this is the version I have. The original came out for Shiseido in 1992. This is called Féminité du Bois, or the femininity of wood, if you will. Féminité du Bois is a woody, spicy creation by 3 masters: Serge Lutens, Pierre Bourdon, and Christopher Sheldrake. Okay, and so this opens up with this cedar, plummy, honeyed beeswax thing, right? And you get this candied peach, you get this cinnamon, cardamom. There's orange blossom and rose and musk for freshness. There's violet and ylang ylang. There's all of these contrasts. There's vanilla in the base. There's that spicy clove. And if you've smelled Serge Lutens fragrances down the road, you know, you're going to pick up that cedar note over and over. I smell it in things like Cedra, which has a huge tuberose note, but the contrast with the cedar, I think it's just the way Serge Lutens likes his woody notes done. And it all started here. This is kind of where it started for me. And I think it's a triumph of perfumery. I think it's a kind of a big turn, you know, a fork in the road. And you could talk about its meaning to other perfumers. It's interesting because when I hear perfumers ask the question, if you could make one fragrance you never made, what would it be? Many folks say things like Eau Sauvage or Eau de Hermes, you know, or something like that, you know, Shalimar or whatever. But obviously, or Mitsuko. But many of them say this. Many of the perfumers who are asked say Féminité du Bois. Because back then the thing is when they sat down at the table and they said, we're going to make a fragrance that's woody, the folks across the other side of the table said, oh, okay, so you're making a masculine. They said, no, we're making a feminine fragrance. But they said, you're making it woody. We don't understand. So there was this, you know, breaking down of barriers as well. The femininity of wood, perfect name. There's this oriental sort of base in this as well that I just love. I love this fragrance. I wore this within the last month or two. This is the type of fragrance that I'm like, man, I really want to review, but I have to get the intestinal fortitude because I feel like it's such a giant. I have to do it justice, you know? And I'm always leery. That's why I haven't reviewed things like Givenchy Gentleman. Like, this cannot be messed up. I have to nail the review because I appreciate it and love it so much and respect it. And Féminité du Bois is in that same boat. So just an amazing fragrance at number 4. Number 3 is another one that I think if you just went off of the better fragrance, this would be higher than the one that's number 1. But I actually enjoy wearing number 1 the best. But this is 2009. This is from Cécile Zarokian. This is what really put Cécile Zarokian on the map, in my opinion. But remember, she had help. So she worked with Danielle Morial and Angeline Leporini. This is called Epic Woman. And this is a fragrance that is just a giant. Don't worry if you're a guy. Don't worry about the woman part of it at all. There's nothing feminine about this scent. It's a beautiful, spicy, woody oriental with this lovely pink pepper, cumin, cinnamon thing, which I think she will play with later on with Masque Milano's Tango, which I'll review one of these days. Damask Rose, Geranium, Tea, and Jasmine. The tea sometimes gives me hints of Silver Mountain Water by Creed. I love the tea note in here, by the way. It just is a beautiful offset, you know, the beautiful... like you're just standing up and looking at this beauty of this mountain, you know? It's that beautiful just imagery. The tea is perfect in here. But of course, it's all about that dry down of frankincense and patchouli, gaiac wood. There's a bit of iris to make it feel sort of elegant and epic, if you will. And same thing here. I mean, yes, the oud is not real oud or whatever, but it's a convincing accord with sandalwood and amber and bourbon vanilla and white musk. It's beautiful. I mean, just absolutely stunning beautiful. I love Epic Woman. I love wearing it too. But there's a couple more that I like wearing just a little bit more. And this is the tough part because number 2 and number 1 are like, oh God, how do I pick between these two? Because they're 2 of my all-time favorites. And one I've actually reviewed on the channel, and one I will review very soon. So the one I'm going to review very soon is from the house of Serge Lutens, and this is called Filen Agile. And Filen Agile, I'll tell you what, you can see how much I love this fragrance. It is, I think, one of the best takes of like a woody, smoky, you know, green, resinous, earthy thing. It literally feels like, you put your hand on a tree in the forest and you get a little bit of sap on your hand. And then in the background, you can feel like this, you know, you can see like the smoke in the background, if you will. You can smell the pine needles, the vetiver, the sap on your hands. There's a little bit of candied fruit, just a touch. I don't know what it is, but there's this little bit of contrast with candied fruit and frankincense and spices and fir balsam and bay leaves or laurel, and just that little bit of smokiness in the background, like you're seeing a signal fire far off. It's beautiful, stunning. I've never smelled the newer bottles. I've only smelled these, okay? So I can't tell you what the new one's like. But overall, I do think Serge Lutens does good reformulations from what I've smelled, in my opinion. But Filen Agile is just an epic titan of a fragrance. And again, we'll get a full review one of these days. And that leaves number 1, which you guys may disagree with me, but I love wearing this fragrance. I feel, it just makes me feel special every time I wear it. And you know, it's one of those things that I'm excited to reach for. It really has my kind of notes in there as well because it dries down to like a castoreum, leathery frankincense thing. Number 1 is Rhonda Hamami's best fragrance of her life, hands down. This is Epic Man. I adore Epic Man. You can see I put a pretty damn good dent in this bottle. God, I mean, just amazing opening, amazing sort of spicy opening with myrtle and pink pepper, nutmeg, and cumin, and mace, cardamom with that amouage frankincense, you know, the way I described it. Go check out my full review if you want more of a detailed review. I called this an Amouage Hall of Fame review because it deserves to be a Hall of Fame fragrance. This is what Amouage stood for me. You know, the myrrh, the geranium, the leather, the castoreum, especially in the castoreum in here, feels very high quality. Even in my snap cap, you can see there's no name on the side or the front on mine. But I don't know what the new versions are like, but I can tell you the castoreum dry down in here smells very realistic. I really like the castoreum used. It smells very high quality. It's one of my favorite notes. I love castoreum with oud and musk and cedarwood and sandalwood. It is a very strong fragrance, but it reminds me of, you know, you're on the Silk Road and the desert was very hot during the day, but now it's freezing cold at night. And you're all sitting around a fire telling stories. Someone grabs a handful of spices off of the camel's back and throws it in the fire. And when they hit the fire, they explode into like this green, smoke-filled sky, right? When it goes up into the sky, you're looking up at the sky. It looks like it's turning green, right, from the incense. It's green colored of the bottle. It's just, I mean, could easily be a signature scent for me, just like what I'm wearing today could easily be a signature scent, you know. But I love a lot of different types of perfumes, and this is my this year in perfume from 2009 ranked. So that was an hour epic long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do let me know what you make of these top 21 rankings and my honorary mentions, which we'll probably talk about some of those very soon on the channel. So let me know what your favorites are. Let me know if there's some from 2009 I should check out. Obviously, not everything can be on the list. You know, you take things like La Nuit de l'Homme, not on the list. Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver, not on the list. There's a lot of stuff on here that was pretty popular, not on the list. So if there's some on there I should check out from 2009, do let me know. I'm always open to trying new things, and I appreciate everyone's support. We just crossed 6,500 subscribers, which I really don't care about the subscribers, honestly. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If one person watched, I'd probably do it just because I love doing that. I love interacting and talking with you guys about perfume. You know, as I said at the beginning, we just sit down and we talk like friends, and that's kind of my style. And so I love these type of videos, and I really feel like it'll be a reference video for people to kind of look back on in the future. So I hope you guys appreciate it. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.